And on that note, I'd like to introduce Jon Sawyer, who's director of the Pulitzer Center on Crisis Reporting. It's a nonprofit organization that funds independent reporting with the intent of raising the standard of media coverage of global affairs. Its mission is to cover stories that have gone unreported, underreported, or misreported in the mainstream American media. Jon became the center's founding director after a 31 career at the St. Louis Dispatch, where he was Washington bureau chief from '93 to 2005. His assignments have taken him to some 6 countries, with special projects ranging from South Africa, Cuba, and Haiti to Eastern Europe, the former Soviet Union, and China. Mr. Sawyer, Jon's work was selected 3 years in a row for the National Press Club's Award for Best Foreign Reporting. His work has also been honored by the Overseas Press Club, the International American Press Association, and the School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University. Jon, tell us about the Pulitzer Center.
Thank you, Anne Marie. It's great to be here, and our organization is very new, 2.5 years old, and it's a nonprofit response to the contraction in the news industry commitment to international reporting that Laura and Anne Marie both addressed, and that all of us are painfully aware of. I think that our story over the last 2.5 years of the Pulitzer Center and the way that we have evolved is both a testament to the need that's out there and also a very exciting indication, at least to us, that there are lots of new opportunities and there are ways to address this gap in coverage and gap in interest among the public. And I'd like to talk a little bit about that because it's lessons that we've learned along the way, and also talk just a bit about some of the health reporting we do. We are focused on international issues in general, sort of systemic, critical issues that cut across the board from armed conflict to economic issues, environmental issues, and so on. But we have found ourselves doing a number of health projects in regions all over the world, and have learned a lot from doing them. I came from, as Anne Marie said, a background in print journalism, and I was someone like many around the country at major regional papers who made something of a specialty of enterprise reporting overseas. And I did a number of projects, and if you looked at any of the top 25, 30 newspapers, you'd find a few journalists like myself who did this and did sort of in-depth projects, and they go off, and the papers took great pride in that. And what we've seen over the last decade or so is the almost complete walking away of responsibility from those papers. And you see it with such as the Boston Globe closing its foreign bureaus, even though that's a New York Times owned newspaper with a great tradition of foreign coverage. What's happened at the Baltimore Sun, Newsday, LA Times, across the board. And I felt that I left my job as a bureau chief here in 2005, and I went to the Pulitzer family, which had owned that newspaper and a chain of newspapers for 125 years or so, and had sold it in 2005. And I said, I think we need to have a different kind of approach to this crisis. We need to set up a nonprofit organization that would provide funding to support this kind of reporting. I thought that I would be supporting younger versions of myself, sort of young journalists who are ambitious to do this kind of work, and for whom the leverage of a $5,000 or $10,000 travel grant, if they had a good project, they wanted to go someplace, if they took that to their editors, that would enable them to do big projects for the newspapers. And we've done some of that, but we found after we got established that the reduction in staff and resources and news space for these issues has been so rapid and dramatic that at many newspapers you no longer even have the senior editors, the foreign editors who for years had cultivated their own stringers and took pride in developing reporters around the world. They weren't there anymore. They eliminated those positions, and so you didn't have the staffs had gotten cut so much via buyouts and layoffs that you didn't have a willingness to commit reporters for the weeks or months it would take to do the kind of projects that we were interested in doing, the kind of projects that were recognized in the awards here today. And so as we developed, we found that we were sponsoring 5% freelance reporters as opposed to staff reporters. And we found ourselves in the position of serving as an agency, as an agent for them, helping to place those projects and articles into the mainstream press. And we became a sort of bridging organization between the journalists in the field, often freelancers, and outlets, and trying to keep a space for them and to get funding, to get some payment for the work that they did. And as we got known, we've been increasingly successful at that. And one reason we've been successful is that we've also become a bridging agency between different types of media. And as I say, I'm an old print guy, and we set up the Pulitzer Center at the World Security Institute here in Washington, which also has a division that Azimuth Media that produces a public television program, Foreign Exchange. And for the first 2 years, Fareed Zakaria was the host of that program. And beginning in January, it's been Daljit Dalawal. That's a half-hour program weekly that goes out to about 130 public television stations around the country, about 65% of the American market. And each week there is you never see an American on this show. It's the only place on television that you truly see foreign perspectives. And the typical program is 2 interviews with a diplomat, a businessman, an academic, and so on, journalist from other countries. And then there's a video segment called the In Focus segment. And we discovered early on that we could partner with Foreign Exchange to produce videos on the projects that we were supporting. And over the last year, we've become the principal supplier of video material. And we've done 35 or 40 of these short 4 to 8 minute pieces on Foreign Exchange from countries all over the world and all kinds of issues. And we've then taken the video material. Sometimes we'll have a print project first, and then we'll commission a videographer, sometimes vice versa, or a radio producer, and we'll package them together. We'll cross-market it. We had a project, for example, on Amazon oil and the oil development and lawsuits against multinational oil companies because of alleged health and environmental effects of that. We did several print versions of that. We then commissioned a videographer to go down and do a piece on it. We then took the print material, took the reporter, pitched it to the Washington Post. The Washington Post ran a long story about one of these lawsuits, and from the field reporting that we had sponsored, with links promoting the In Focus piece that we ran the same week on Foreign Exchange. And doing that, creating this network on the one hand of journalists all around the world who have come to see us as a very important outlet and ally in getting their work published and broadcast, and at the same time developing a network among those newspaper and magazine broadcast outlets who still are committed and trying to find a way to make this work. We think we've created a loose network that works pretty well. And we've done, at this point, 55, I think, projects that we've commissioned around the world. We've placed them in 80 different American media outlets, everywhere from the New York Times and the Washington Post to Newsweek, Smithsonian, the LA Times, Foreign Exchange, of course, but also a number of projects for NPR, for BBC, The World, Radio, and we've been very encouraged and surprised, frankly, that the willingness of places that otherwise are cutting back to give us platforms for this important work on topics that would otherwise not be covered. And in the health area, we've done several major projects, some of our most successful projects, and one reason we're very excited about working with Anne-Marie and Global Health and to use that. And by the way, that's the great thing about Global Health is this is an important new outlet for reporting, and we need outlets. The numbers of good outlets are diminishing. But we've done projects on AIDS in Africa, Kenya, and Rwanda. We've done projects on HIV, AIDS in the Caribbean. 2 of our biggest projects in Jamaica, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic. The Haiti and Dominican Republic project was an example of the kind of collaboration that we think is so important, where we work with the Palm Beach Post, with Cox Newspapers, with the National Press Foundation, which helped to fund Antigone Barton, the journalist involved in that project, with the International Center for Journalists, with Foreign Exchange, and we put together not only a newspaper series that ran on successive Sundays last November, but on the same Sundays, each Sunday, 3 video pieces that ran on Foreign Exchange. And then we came back with a second project on Jamaica, and in that one, we commissioned Kwame Dawes, who's a Jamaican Ghanaian poet, who's a poet in residence at the University of South Carolina, not previously written about HIV/AIDS, but is a very well-known cultural leader in Jamaica. We sent him down 5 times in the fall to interview everybody he could find, 50 or 60 people who were HIV positive, nurses, doctors, teachers, novelists, to look at how the disease, the epidemic had impacted his country. And in the course of doing that, he wrote long essays. He's written a short piece that the Washington Post Outlook section has agreed to run. We did 3 pieces for Foreign Exchange so that we were able to cross-market the television and the print pieces. We sent a photographer and a design team, interactive website design team, Blue Cadet, down with him to Jamaica. And I hope that if you get a chance, you'll take a look at our site, or just if they go direct to the Hope Project, we call it, is livehopelove.com, or through the pulitzercenter.org, and you'll see that the combination of original poetry Kwame has written about the encounters he's had with all of the people in Jamaica he interviewed, video clips from each of the people that he talked to, so you burrow down into their stories, original music that we composed to go with the poetry that Kwame wrote, and then some spectacular photography, audio slideshows where you present the poetry as well as the music and the photography that goes with it. And we've also commissioned teacher lesson plans. A big part of what we do is education and outreach, where we take our projects out to schools and to universities. We create panels of journalists, and in that way, we really think that you have to think about these journalism projects in the era that we're in, with such short attention spans and so many different focuses that people have, that you have to think about them more as campaigns than as on-off, one-time projects. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to do a project and I'm going to write the article and I'm done with it. I'm going to go on to the next article or the next video documentary. You have to really have a strong marketing campaign that's going to take an issue and then know in advance that you're going to take it out to schools, to universities, to get the journalist onto radio and television for follow-up interviews, and do everything you can to promote engagement and debate. And that's our challenge. The exciting thing is that we've found so much success in getting this out, and so many partners, universities, local school systems, educated people willing who are eager to work with us, because there is such a felt need for this. And this is, of course, why we're very excited about global health, because an organization like the Council, with its global reach, is a wonderful platform for us to be part of. We hope that through it, that people will come to know about the work that we do, the funds that we have to support journalism, to bring to us topics that need reporting, and that by all of us working together, that we can navigate our way through this rather difficult, traumatic, but in many ways, a very exciting transition in journalism.